Good morning po. For those who do not know me, but I'm sure prayed for me during our difficult years, I am Marjorie Madoy Camacho, wife of the youngest brother of our pastor, Benson Camacho. It was December 10, 2019, when I noticed a big and hard lump on my breast. I immediately went to Asian Hospital in Alabang for mammogram and ultrasound. I told my husband I can drive alone because he cannot just leave our store without a trusted person to man it. Malakas naman po ang loob ko until I got the results. Muntik na po akong maligaw nung pauwi. Then my doctor said I needed surgery and she set it on the day after Christmas. Lord, ito po ba ang sagot sa mga panalangin ko na makapagpahinga? I asked the Lord. Because my ultimate prayer was to spend my Saturdays at home for my two kids. Because ever since I gave birth to them, I could count on my fingers the number of times I got to spend a whole Saturday with them. Pag birthday ko lang po ako may day off, minsan hindi pa natutupad. Even when I have a fever or asthma and allergy attacks, tindahan pa rin po. Christmas Eve came, and my doctor texted me her Christmas greeting along with this verse on 2 Corinthians 4:17-18. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Because what is seen is temporary, and what is unseen is eternal. This verse became my hope. I held on to this verse daily. Araw-araw, inuulit ko po sa sarili ko na itong cancer ay panandalian lang. Pero ang kagalakang dulot nito ay walang hanggan at walang katulad. And then, I had peace. After surgery, my doctor said I have breast cancer stage 3C, ER/PR HER2 positive. Meaning, kung hindi agad natuklasan, konti na lang po ay kumalat na sa buong katawan. Sa ibang parte ng katawan, I mean. At itong cancer ko po ay yung type that grows and spreads quickly, thus requiring more than a year of treatment. Then came the moment to choose what course of treatment should I take and the kinds of chemo drugs with their corresponding prices. I had to take 16 rounds of chemo plus 18 cycles of targeted therapy since my cancer is on the late stage and is aggressive. These targeted drugs are newly available drugs that will reduce the risk of recurrence or pagbalik ng cancer and improve my survival. After chemo, I had to undergo 30 radiation sessions daily, including surgery. It all summed up to 6 million pesos. When I heard this, my mind stopped. I couldn't process anymore what the oncologist was saying. Namutla kami ng asawa ko. When we got home, Benson tried to assure ourselves not to worry on the expenses because God will provide. He said, we can sell our lupa and his motorcycles to suffice my targeted treatment, which cost 300,000 pesos per session. Multiply it by 18 sessions. Pastor M told him to get the targeted drugs kahit mahal. He said to Benson, mabuti may gamot na ngayong nabibili kesa walang gamot to extend Madoy's life. He and Ate Joy and their sister doctor gave us not just physical support, but also mental and financial support. And then came the pandemic. With ECQ, we had to close our store for 2 months. Nabawasan pa ng source ang pambili ng gamot ko. But we continued to give our monthly tithes, missions, and building supports. Hindi namin binawasan, kundi dinagdagan pa the amount we give for missions because we were so moved by the sermon during the missions conference. We also added more for our new building project. Furthermore, Benson learned to give first fruit offering or the whole month's rent whenever we had a new tenant in our building. We fully trusted God. Our commercial building has office spaces and studio-type apartments for lease that never napuno ng tenants. We have this office space on the second floor, the biggest space in our building, that no one has ever leased since it was built 10 years ago that time. And yet, during the ECQ lockdown, when the economy was weak, pinuno ng Diyos ng mangungupa ang building namin. God is so amazing. He is still the Red Sea God, who parts the waters and allows us to cross on dry lands. Also that time, our family had a nightly worship and prayer time. Kung dati pre-cancer, hindi ako makatulog habang wala pa sa tabi ko ang asawa ko. With cancer, nawawala po siya sa tabi ko sa madaling araw. Yun pala, he kneels down at dawn to pray and weep for me. Sabi niya, maiiwan niyo pala ako pagdating ni Jesus. Pero ngayon, hindi na. That's another answered prayer. As my husband, caregiver, and provider, Benson had his own difficulties. Sobrang namayat po siya noon. And I'm pretty sure you have noticed that. He now wakes up early to work for our store for an entire day. And during my chemo, he comes home at lunch to feed me. And after dinner, he led us to walk around the village for my exercise. Ngayon niya lang po sinabi sa akin that he was too exhausted to walk that time, but forced himself because he wanted to triple his time with me if ever I'll be gone. He said my cancer made him stronger. He had to be tough for me and the kids. He had to learn to do the things he could not do before. Our family became closer not just to God, but to each other. Sabi nga ng dalawang anak ko, mas masaya raw kami ngayong may sakit ako. And indeed, it is true. The words from our family's favorite hymn became true for us. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in His wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of His glory and grace. We realize that toiling under the sun, working hard, and going after wealth and earthly possessions are worthless in the eyes of God. na ang dapat pag-ipunan ay ang kayamanan sa langit, hindi ang kayamanan dito sa lupa. We cannot bless ourselves. Only God can. The Lord opened the windows of heaven for my treatment. First, for my surgery, we have saved 120,000 pesos because the two doctors did not collect their professional fees. One is my cousin, and the other one was a college choir mate of my Dr. Hipag, who we didn't know would be my breast surgeon. Second, I received 1.5 million pesos as critical illness benefit from my life insurance that we were not aware I had this benefit. God gave this money to fund our checks and run our store without having to worry about pondohan sa bangko while we became busy at the start of my treatment. Third, a family friend helped us secure financial aid from a government agency and gave us 250,000 pesos. Fourth, God spared me from the harsh side effects of chemo like nausea and vomiting. Many chemo patients are so helpless, so they just stay in bed due to fatigue and body pains. Ako po, kahit after chemo ay naghahalaman pa. Fifth, I started selling plants from our garden and named it Happy Leaves. At nung dumami na ang demand, we sourced from other suppliers. So after chemo sessions, buying plants for resale ang naging side trip namin at naging quality time with each other na rin. Six, I also started selling my handmade coasters and named it Happy Yarns. These two small businesses became profitable na umabot pa outside Batangas. They got far as Manila, Quezon City, and Cebu. If I could ship outside the Philippines, my plants and coasters would have reached US and London. Who would have thought I would be having two businesses that I love doing while on chemo? Last and importantly, natapos po ang treatments ko na wala kaming naibentang properties. At lahat po ng business loans namin ay nabayaran ng lahat na never pa pong nangyari in the entire 19 years of existence ng aming negosyo. I am the Lord, the God of all mankind. Is there anything too hard for me? Jeremiah 32:27. I knew that God is in control, so my faith did not waver. I learned not to forego peace and not to bear needless pain by giving all my problems to God through prayer. By His grace, malakas po ang loob ko. Nakakatulog po ako. Pero minsan, dinadaanan din ng lungkot whenever I hear a fellow cancer survivor has died. My earnest prayer to God is to give me 30 more years so I could see my children's children. This verse I am holding on to. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea and driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything from the Lord. That's from James 1:6-7. Still, I went through physical pain during surgery, needle biopsy, and radiation, and a few times during chemo infusion. But at all times, I felt God's loving arms carrying me, holding me. Whenever I become fearful due to intense pain, I worship God by singing worship songs and reciting Psalms 23 and Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. And all your prayers, my brethren, damang-dama po naming pamilya, nakasama namin kayo sa panalangin. This church is family. Salamat po sa inyong lahat. Pagpalain po kayo ng Diyos. Ngayon po, I do cancer monitoring every 6 months with ultrasounds of the major parts of my body and a yearly PET CT scan for my entire body. Malaking amount po ang cost nito, but I know God will supply all my needs according to His riches in glory and not according to my husband's finances. Ngayon ko lang po tunay nalalasap ang salita ng Diyos. Kahit 1985 pa po ako naging Kristiyano. Napakadami pong promises ng Diyos sa Bible. Psalms 119:71 says, "It is good for me that I have been afflicted, that I may learn your statutes." Today, Psalms 23 came alive in my life. I made the Lord as my shepherd, and I have all that I need. He lets me rest in green pastures. And even when troubles are present, I am not afraid because God is with me. He fills my cup until it overflows. And surely God's great love will chase after me all the days of my life. And I will live in the house of the Lord forever. This is a great promise. I had cancer, but everything else in my life was healed. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Thank you po.